Hey guys, Mr. Jenkins here. Hopefully your day is going well so far. If not, hopefully it gets better. This is going to be your video for lesson 2-2 in Algebra 1. I did notice one big mistake on the last video that I thought I would try to fix today. My lovely UK wall was not very prominently displayed, so hopefully I fixed that this time, and you're welcome for that. But seriously, this is going to be your video. Remember that you can watch this at home so that you're ready to work on the assignment when you get into class. So that is an option. You do not have to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So as I just said, this is section 2.2, which is about solving two-step equations. Your learning target is after this lesson, we will be able to solve two-step equations in one variable. Don't worry about the one variable thing. We'll get to multiple variable stuff later. So just two-step equations, I can solve them. So some of the basics before we get into some examples. It says use blank blank to create blank equations. So what we want to say here is we want to use inverse operations. So like addition undoes subtraction, division undoes multiplication, etc., to create equivalent equations. So that's like the showing your work part. Actually, even your answer is an equivalent equation because x equals 2 or something like that is an equation. Ultimately, you want to blank the variable to find the blank of the solution. So what we want to say here is you want to isolate, which means get it by itself, the variable to find the solution of the equation. Okay, remember that's the solution of the equation is the number that you can substitute in for the variable to make the equation true. Okay, and then there's an important note about order of operations when you're solving an equation. So for order of operations, we think PEMDAS. When you're working on equations, though, we do reverse. All right, so we do reverse of our normal order of operations. So if we think about PEMDAS for order of operations, then we can think, if we flip that around, PEMDAS backwards is SADMAP. Okay, so for today's lesson, we need to subtract or add before we divide or multiply. You probably remember that, hopefully, from 7th and 8th grade. But either way, that is what we do. Yesterday, I had my calculator pulled up. Today, I did not. I was having a little technical difficulties, so you will just have to trust me on the calculator. That being said, if you have any questions about how to type something in or something like that, you got to just let me know. Okay, so looking at example A, what variable do we want to isolate? We want to isolate the A. And then what are we trying to undo? Well, we have 2 multiplied by A, and then we have 3 added to that. So we want to undo times 2 and plus 3. Okay, but we have to subtract or add before we can divide or multiply, right? So my first move here is to undo the plus 3. So how do we undo plus 3? Do minus 3. And then to get your equivalent equation, you got to do the same thing on the other side. So that's going to give me 2a plus 0. So we just write 2a equals whatever negative 15 minus 3 is. That's negative 18. A lot of people will mess up here, so a calculator is a good thing to use. Negative 15 minus 3 is negative 18. I think of it as negative 15 plus negative 3, okay? But use that calculator. Then we want to divide everything by 2. And that's going to give me 1a, or just a, equals negative 9, because negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. And then I'm only going to show this once, but remember, with an equation, you can always sub back in to the original to make sure that it works, right? So in your calculator, you don't even need to write it out. You could just type 2 times -9 plus 3, and that's going to tell you that it is -15, so you know you are correct at that point. All right, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and do, let's see, well, actually, I'll just do B, and then I'll leave the other ones for you all, okay? So on B, to isolate the letter B, the variable B, we want to undo divided by 2 and plus 25. We got to undo plus 25 first. So my first move is to do minus 25 to both sides. That's going to give me 5 minus 25 is -20. And then on the other side, we have B over 2 plus 0. So we just write B over 2. Now we're ready to get rid of the divided by 2 part. So I'm multiplying both sides by 2. And so that's going to give me 2 times -20 is -40. And then we have 1B on the other side, so B is by itself. So that means that if I sub -40 back in, then that should satisfy the equation, okay? So I'm leaving C, D, and E for you all to do and check. I highly suggest that you do those and then you check them on the filled out notes. All right, looking at example 2, everybody's favorite, word problems. I would say for word problems where you're asked to write an equation, it would be important to kind of follow these steps. So usually the hardest part for kids, in my experience, is just writing the equation. Like they can come up with the answer, but then writing the equation is the tough part. So if you're able to write equations, though, on easy ones, then you can use that same logic to solve tougher problems that you can't do with mental math. Anyways, here are your steps. Step 1 is that you want to define your variable. I'll get into what all this means once I am working the problem. Step 2, we want to write and then solve our equation. And then step 3, here's a big one. People who are good at math always do this without being told. They ask themselves, does my answer make sense? Always important, okay? So let's go ahead and read through this one. It says, Ben is making a bulletin board to advertise community service opportunities in his town. If he plans to use half a sheet of construction paper for each ad, sorry, I read that a little wrong, but he plans to use half a sheet per ad. He needs 5 sheets of construction paper for a tile banner. And then it goes on to say he has 18 sheets of construction paper. How many ads can he make, right? So if I want to define my variable, a good easy way to do that is look for what's it asking you to find. I'm looking at my last sentence. It says how many ads can he make? So my variable needs to stand for a number of ads. So I'm going to use A equals number of ads. Now we got to read back through. Generally, you're looking for numbers here when it comes to writing your equation. Numbers from the story problem. So I'm doing step 2 here, the first part of step 2, which is to write the equation. So one of the things we need to take note of is that he needs half a sheet of paper per each ad. So half of an A per each ad, right? So how can I write that? I would just write half times A. And then he also needs 5 sheets for a tile banner. We're assuming that's a one-time thing. So that would just be a constant plus 5. All right, and then what's 18? That's what we're going to set our equation equal to. So our equation would be half A plus 5 equals 18. All right, which kind of makes sense, right? Half a sheet per ad plus 5 sheets that I've already used equals 18. All right. So when I go to solve this, I want to undo the plus 5 first. So I'm doing minus 5 to both sides. And that's going to leave me with half a equals 13. And then at this point, remember you can, so you could multiply both sides by 2 over 1. You could divide both sides by 1/2, either way. I would also make one more note because this is good to understand. I think this might help because some people get confused here. So half times a is also the same as 1 times a over 2. So a over 2. So half times half is the same thing as divided by 2. So that might help you to remember, oh, I just need to multiply both sides by 2. That's what I'm going to do, multiply by 2. And that's going to give me that a equals 26 because 13 times 2 is 26. On a story problem, you always want to put a label. So that means, remember, a is a number of adds, so that means 26 adds. It's funny, it reminds me of my 3-year-old daughter. She loves to watch YouTube, and every time an ad comes up, she goes, "Is that a silly ad?" So she already understands YouTube better than like her grandma or somebody. It's pretty hilarious. All right, so last type of example, and that will conclude our lesson. So what if we have 2 terms in the numerator? Okay, so that actually, you treat it this way. So if a minus 7 is all in the numerator, then there is an understood set of parentheses right there. That's how you want to treat it, right? So if we go back to our order of operations, in this case, usually we would subtract or add first. We would try to get rid of the minus 7. But if it's in parentheses, you can see that we're going to do that last. Okay, we're going to do that last. So in this case, we actually multiply and then add. Okay, so you've got to remember that, or else you'll look at these and not know what to do. In fact, when you ask me how to do this one on the homework, I'm going to know you didn't watch the video. And I'm going to say watch the video. So anyways, yeah, you got to undo the divided by 3 first. So that's times 3 to both sides. And that's going to give me 3 times negative 12 is negative 36 equals a minus 7. Now I can undo the minus 7 by adding 7. And almost canceled out the wrong side. So negative 36 plus 7 is going to be negative 29. Yeah, negative 29. Equal to a. Okay, and remember, you can always sub back in to see if it works. Okay, if I had my calculator, I would show you, but you can kind of think through it. Negative 29 take away 7 is negative 36, and then negative 36 divided by 3 is negative 12. All right, so let's do one more. Let's maybe do, I'll just do B and let you guys look at the notes for the other one. All right, so same thing. The order of operations is the important thing. We're going to get rid of divided by negative 4 first. So multiply by negative 4 on both sides. It's going to give me b minus 2 equals negative 24. And then get rid of minus 2. So we're doing plus 2 to both sides. And that's going to give me that b equals negative 22. If you add 2 first and then multiply by negative 4, you get a different answer, and that answer will not work, I promise you. Okay, so you've got to go in that order. All right, I guess if you ever forgot, another approach to this problem would be, you know, if you thought about our 1-7 lesson, another way to write this is just a side note. Remember that b minus 2 over negative 4 Can also be written as b over -4 minus 2 over -4. And then you could just reduce that to b over -4. Minus negative is going to be plus, and then 2 over 4 is 1/2. So you could change it to that, and then set equal to 6, and then solve. But to me, that seems a lot tougher. I would just remember the order of operations. Okay, so that concludes our lesson for 2-2. And again, it is okay to watch this at home. Your assignment won't post until tomorrow, though, so that you at least have something to do in class. All right, so besides that, have a nice day, and I will be around to help you on homework if you need it. Thanks, guys.